What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Existential Stoic Podcast, quick fix number 32, dealing with anxiety. Are
Ooh.
you an anxious person? Does anxiety get you down? Well, if you just stick around for this 10-minute episode, we'll help you figure out some practical tips to help you too deal with anxiety. I'm
Deal
Randy.
with it.
I'm here with my buddy Danny. Hey, Danny, what's up?
What's up, Randy?
All right.
So
So
anxiety.
we're anxiety. Yeah. Interesting stuff. I mean, I think we all suffer from it from time to time. I've had times when I was very anxious and times when I'm not anxious at all. But I think the tips we're going to share today are pretty helpful. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think they will help because I think we both have dealt with it. And I think that's the crucial thing is it's a tips from experience, right?
Dude, I feel like getting older is the key to life. I feel like life just gets so much more understandable the older you get. Like especially now when we're both nearing 40, I feel like this I'm finally like catching my stride in life, you know? It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
it's funny. It's like it doesn't necessarily get easier, but it gets more understandable and makes
Yeah.
sense. And that's a good thing. It definitely
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, so on to dealing with anxiety. My first one is meditate and find peace and quiet. So
Ooh.
like we live in such a hectic society, always go 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 go, do this, achieve that, whatever. And even if you're not doing that, like even if you're depressed and just laying in bed, all this stuff is still going on in your head. So
Oh
like
yeah.
finding a break from that, and it is an intentional practice. I heard this quote the other day that I love. Success is always intentional. Like nobody's an accidental success. It just doesn't happen. Success is always
Yeah.
intentional. And so, combating anxiety, dealing with anxiety, meditation is that intentional step you can get towards dealing with anxiety because it allows everything to kind of calm down. Like I love the illustration they always give with a cloudy glass of like mud water. You just let it settle and all of a sudden you have clear water.
The
Yeah.
sediment stirred up. Yeah, yeah. I like that too that you said the intentionality of it because I think that's in anything that we're dealing with, that's got to be kind of the starting point, right, to get past it. So that's a good one. I like that. We need calm, we need quiet. So my first one is identifying the sources. So doing this like through journaling and stuff is a good way, and then you can kind of start planning how to take care of these things because I think for a lot of people now, their anxiety is tied to like real stressors. So like maybe it's like their bills, or maybe it's like work or whatever. And if you can identify those things, you can and start to plan how to actually take action. You can also be intentional and start doing things to sort of realize that it's not so overwhelming. It's not so impossible.
Yeah, that's a great one because I remember back a time in the past year when both of us had a time where we had to like literally identify what was going on, and once we identified it, it almost vanished. And I think part of that comes from like we live with an emotional compass that's not used to living in this type of world. Like we have all these emotions
Yeah.
that were back when we were hunter gatherers, like having to run away from lions or whatever. So we have this anxiety about something, and then we notice what it actually is, and we're like, oh, that's really not that bad. I think I'll be okay.
Well, yeah, and also like, back then too, you were interacting with like a few people. Now it's like insane how many people you might interact with. So I think that's also part of it. It's just overwhelming. It is.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
meant to have huge social networks. Definitely not.
No.
So, my next one for dealing with anxiety is get comfortable in discomfort. And this, I mean, I always try to be comfortable in discomfort because, like, if there's one thing you're guaranteed in life,
Yeah.
it's suffering and being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So,
pretty
like,
much.
the sooner you can become comfortable in that, and like I'm not saying comfortable where it's like the same type of comfort as when you're sitting at home on the couch watching Netflix or whatever, not that type of comfort, but just being able to be in that situation and be like, oh, I recognize this is discomfort, I know I can make it through this. All right, I'm just gonna bear witness to it.
Yeah, I think that's the point, right? It's just like letting it be, but not letting it totally derail you, right? Or letting that dictate your whole day, where you just hyper focus on it. I like that one. It's a good one, and it's important. Um, my next one is actually like talk to a friend. So I think giving it a voice is a really helpful way too. Just saying that you are anxious, identifying it. I think a lot of times we're so afraid of what other people will think. We don't want to mention these things. We keep it internal, and it just gets worse because then it just like snowballs and goes out of control, right? And then you're kind of just stuck in your own head rather than kind of getting it out in the world. And if you don't want to tell it to somebody, you can always just write it down. I think is also a good way to actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great point because I mean, both of us, we've gained so much from just being able to talk back and forth about our issues. And sometimes like we don't even tell each other the actual issue. We just kind of frame it out very
Yeah.
general, but it still helps you work through your own mental fog to get through the other side.
Yeah, it does.
So my last one for dealing with anxiety is actually a very practical tip. Like I heard this, I don't remember where, but they said that cold water in your face is actually a very effective combat to panic attacks. And panic attacks is like ultra high anxiety. And I actually started doing this when I would start to feel anxious, anything like that. I would just go in the shower and turn it on just cold and blast it right in my face. And the anxiety is
Yeah.
gone, guaranteed.
I mean, it's funny. I think it works because I've done it before too, and it works. I think because it's like it's a it's something practical you can do. So when you feel out of control, it's a way to kind of take control. But it also the freezing cold water also kind of like it's a shock. You're like, oh God, all right, and then it kind of gets your head out of that thinking, I think, for a little bit. So it does help a lot. It's a good one. My last one's a little similar to the other one, but different. It's okay to not feel okay. I think again, this is the issue that I think a lot of people struggle with. They think they have to feel like super happy all the time and everything has to be great, and that's just not life, right? I mean, even somebody who's living a good life, that's not going to be their life. So it's okay to have bad days. It's okay to feel stressed. It's okay to have overwhelming feelings, and just once you recognize that, you can move on from it and not let it control you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just seeing it as kind of a season and it'll pass.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
there you have it. 6 quick little tips, maybe a quick fix for dealing with anxiety. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Make sure to listen on YouTube and also podcasts. I'm Randy. That's my buddy Danny. I'll catch you later, Danny.
Later, Andy.